All right, good afternoon, guys. I'm trying to make this video, but for some reason, I'm having a hard time. But yes, this video goes back to the 1800s, and it's about a serial killer in the country of Portugal, thinking that it's like Eastern Europe, but it's not only based on the serial killer. It's based on facts and things that we do see now in this eras, meaning these years now. So it gets real interesting. I thought it was gonna be just like any little video, but it's not. There's a lot of history to this video, so I would like to share with this you guys. Sorry for the noise of my little birds, but I mean I can't do nothing about it. But I hope you guys do enjoy this. It's a good video. It's like a 11-minute video. Real interesting, guys. It caught my eye, and I would like to share with you guys. So let's roll. History, guys. Education.
Look into these empty eyes. They saw blood and tears, terrified victims begging to be kept alive. This look belongs to Portugal's first serial killer, Diogo Alves. And you can look into the eyes of a cold-blooded criminal even today, because his severed head is still kept in a jar in the basement of the Lisbon hospital. But finding an answer to the questions, what exactly happened to him, have turned into a crazy detective story with very unexpected twists. And Alves is not only a killer in this story, but also a victim, and not the only one. In this video, you'll find out why heads continue to be
June 29, 2021, published.
And a severed head
It was published
many years later. And most importantly, how did Alves' head end up in a jar? How did Diogo Alves lose his head? The year was 1836. Drunken, heartbroken over the death of his mother, Diogo meets the beautiful Maria Gertrudis. Diogo doesn't know how an unemployed poor fellow like him can impress a girl and decides to make some easy money. This is how trivially the story of the Aqueduct murderer began. Diogo came up with the perfect crime plan. He chose his victims who would not become a problem for him. He chose those whose families would never look for them. Therefore, his targets were poor peasants who came to Lisbon from afar to sell their crops. Alves robbed his victims, blindfolded them, and threw them from the 60-meter height of the aqueduct of the free waters. It caused instant death. No signs of a fight were found on the victim's body, so authorities took Alves' victims for suicides. The thing is that these events took place during the Great Liberal Revolution.
Wow.
Many people lost their jobs and were hopeless. That's why everyone thought these people committed suicide out of desperation. Due to the short-sightedness of the authorities, who for 40 years did not even know about the cunning scheme of Diogo's murders, he managed to take the lives of about 70 people. Guys lose their heads over girls all the time, and Diogo lost it in the literal sense. He was arrested and sentenced to be hanged. But the gallows are not the guillotine, you'll say. Then how did his head end up in a jar? It turns out that Alves' head was cut off after death. But what for? Who needs a murderer's head? When the famous composer Joseph Haydn passed away, Austria
I don't know who that man is.
Napoleon, and the composer's burial was considered only
I know who
as a
Napoleon was.
measure. A few years after the war, Nikolaus II, Prince Esterhazy, ordered the composer's body to be reburied with honor. But then it was discovered that the composer's head had disappeared somewhere. As it turned out, someone dug up the graves of famous figures and cut off their heads and then sold them. There were even entire markets of severed heads. The seller with the largest assortment was an executioner by the name of William Calcraft. He executed about 450 people throughout Britain. After the execution, he allowed to make casts of the heads of hanged people. But what's unusual is that the head market still exists. Nowadays, this is done by an organization called Alcor. Alcor is certainly not cowcraft at all, but thanks to good advertising, people are willing to pay to have Alcor cut their head off.
Shut up and take my money.
Why do people sign up for it? You'll ask. Kim Suozi was diagnosed with an aggressive
I don't know who this dude is either.
And used the website Reddit to successfully help collect $70,000.
But he did something,
The
believe
woman
that.
didn't need them for the treatment because her illness was at a stage where there was no way to save Suozi. If you were surprised by Frank Gallagher's request in the last season of Shameless not to be resuscitated, poor Kim tried to hold on to her life by all means. The woman raised such a huge sum for fulfilling her last wish, placing her head in cryopreservation. After your death, Alcor immediately places your head in a storage container with liquid nitrogen in order to maintain the temperature to minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit. And then leaves the solution of the problem for the future. Alcor thinks its patients are not dead.
I don't know if you guys know this Alcor thing, but I don't. It's so scary.
Done with the hope that in the future, scientific achievement will allow a new body to be created for the client using preserved DNA. Unfortunately, no one gives any specific guarantees.
Oh, sorry for the commercials, guys, but yeah, it is real scary, and I hope because of me sharing this with you guys, I hope I don't get in trouble or whatever.
But on the other hand, for people like Kim Suozi, Alcor is the only thing that can save them. They provide an opportunity to follow the fate of Fry from Futurama. You'll continue to live, but in the future. In the 19th century, there was definitely no such opportunity. At the time of DIOGO ALVES, such actions were carried out clandestinely and with a completely different purpose. But this had also been done by scientists. So what study needed a murderer's head? The study was a highly unusual one. Phrenology. Scholars studied phrenology and drawn attention to the outer features of the skull, which they say are related to the human psyche. In the pursuit of the study of the head, followers of this discipline hunted interesting specimens. What could be more interesting than the head of a sophisticated killer? Through their scientific analyses, the phrenologists wanted to prove that certain people were predisposed to crime. They even developed a map of the points on the skull. They needed Alves' head just in order to confirm their teachings. Bulges and recesses in different areas of the skull may indicate a thirst for profit or a propensity for destruction. But Alves' skull remained untouched, you'll say. Why did the phrenologists preserve his head in a jar? You're right. The analysis can't last 3 centuries. The thing is, phrenologists screwed up. Their research results are very easy to debunk, and I'll show you how. If you describe phrenology in one sentence, it would sound like this. High forehead means you're smart. And now meet Franz Joseph Gall, the pioneer of phrenology, the designer of the map of points, and as it happens, the owner of the high forehead. As a child, he noticed that his classmates with bulbous, slightly bulging eyes had a good memory. And this is Emperor of Austria, Ferdinand I. He has both a very high forehead and bulging eyes. He only lacks governing talents. They say that his favorite words were, "I am the Emperor," and "I want pudding." Not high at all. And it didn't stop him from coming up with a tricky murder plan. Power. DIOGO ALVES' forehead is not high at all. And it didn't stop him from coming up with a tricky murder plan that went off without a hitch for 4 years. What do you say now, phrenologists? Inspired by this pseudoscience, the Italian forensic psychiatrist and criminalist Cesare Lombroso argued that a potential criminal could be identified by prominent eyebrow arches and mandible. We don't see that in DIOGO. But do you know who fits that description? Mother Teresa, the kindest person in the world. As you can see, the conclusions of the phrenologists were not adequately justified. Therefore, they preserved Elvis' head in a jar, hoping that new technology
You guys know who Mother Teresa is?
Experiment more successfully on severed heads in the future. But as you remember the work of Alcor,
there it is again.
Technologies of the future, so far, also save everything for later.
Radiology.
The last phrenological society was voluntarily dissolved in the past century, but the fact that the echoes of these teachings can still be found today is disturbing. Therefore, I spent many hours studying the structure of the entire human body to find out the principles of the new science, riddleology. And I'm suggesting you test my method on yourself for the sake of the experiment. If your elbows are in line with your belly button, you're the person who goes wild at any party, doing the most insane and unpredictable things. If your tongue can reach your nose, you're about to have wealth and the most serene life without making any effort. Now, do the following experiment. Bend your middle finger as shown on screen and fix your hand on the table. Now try to raise each finger one at a time. If you can raise your thumb, you can see things clearly. You'll never get caught in a false phrenology. If you can raise your index finger, you're an intellectual who knows a lot about popular science YouTube channels. If you can raise your ring finger, I'm sorry, but you're a small-minded person. Therefore, you better keep your thoughts to yourself, or at least don't write them in the comments below this video. If you can raise your little finger, congratulations. It means that you are surrounded by smart people, so you can safely share this video with your friends. They will appreciate it. Leave a comment below. What are you, according to riddleology?
Good stuff, guys. I hope you guys enjoy that, because I did. But yes, thank you very much for stopping by. You guys have a good day. Bye.
What's up, guys? Dylan.